it's Evelyn with Magellan College Counseling, and I'm here with Rachel Panush to have her share a little bit of her experience with you and have you get a little bit of an understanding for what it might be like if you decided to work with her. So, Rachel, thank you for chatting with me today.
Happy to be here, Evelyn.
Super. So, you one of the things that I know to be true about you is you are the queen of organization, and it comes into play in the college admission process in so many different ways. So, talk to me a little bit about why that little quality that you have is so helpful to the students who you work with.
Sure. So I'm coming to this industry from the tech world where I've been a project manager and strategic engagement manager for about 13 years. And so I've developed pretty sophisticated project management skills. And I'm naturally very organized anyway.
Right.
So it's really important to me to keep things moving along, to always let someone know what do they need to do next, but also to highlight accomplishments. What have you done? What can you feel good about? But also
Beautiful.
to manage the timeline, the roadmap, what can you expect, how to plan ahead. There's so much to do in this process, and it's a lot to keep in mind. And it's the first time that this student is applying to college, and it
Yeah.
might be the first time for their parents. So there's so many pieces at a granular level and a macro level, and I do think it's a strength of mine to help keep the student and the family organized and on a timeline.
And feeling good, like you said, about what they've accomplished, right? It always feels good to check something off your list.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
Checking
yeah.
boxes always feels good.
Right, right, exactly. And you started to get interested in the college admission process when your own children started to go through. And I think your two kids are a really interesting case study in that they ended up at entirely different places, which of course were absolutely right for each of them.
Exactly. Yes. So, I mean, as any parent knows, your children are not alike. And that's going to be true for my clients as well. Everybody's unique, has their own needs, interests, life pathway. So, one of my kids is at a small liberal arts school. And even though we're California residents, she didn't even apply to the UCs. They were just not going to be right for her.
Right.
Um, but a small liberal arts college in a city with other specific details was what she needed, and she's been very happy with her choice. And then my son wants to be an aerospace engineer, so he has to be, not has to be, but most of his options were big state universities. And as we also know, the California climate is very competitive. So he ended up out of state, but it also worked out really well because he got a fantastic merit scholarship
Beautiful.
from the school that he's attending. And because it's maybe a little less competitive than the UCs, he's having an amazing breadth of opportunity available to him.
That's great. I want to pick up on the merit scholarship aspect of what you just said because you have a really specific interest in the financial component of this whole process, which is a huge source of stress for parents, right? You know, the names, the big names, the highly ranked are incredibly expensive for, families in the sort of upper to, upper middle to upper class, and it just may be an amount that they can't really actually afford to pay.
That's right. I mean, I think of it as being in the donut. When you make too much money to get need-based aid or enough to
Yeah.
make a significant uh, dent in the budget, but you're not wealthy enough to just write a check for $90,000 a year in
Right,
2024 and
right,
have that cover the bill.
right,
Next year, who knows? Um, and a lot of families just haven't had the capacity to set aside that kind of money over the life of their kids either. They don't have it sitting around and they can't take half of their income and pay.
right.
So I do think that leading the discussion and the college list building process with affordability is key because I think that the target list needs to be a, a what's the word? A bullet. I'm gonna have to cut that.
Okay, it's okay.
Bullseye. I think it's really important for students to build a list that is targeted both for affordability for the family
Yeah,
and best fit and achievability for the student so that they get into schools that they're both happy about and their family can afford to send them.
right, right. And so this is a part of the process that unfortunately school counselors just don't have the time to get into that level of detail. but it's something that we do with our clients because we want them to have the results that make them happy.
That's right. I mean, what would be more tragic than for your child to get into the school of their dreams
Right.
in April or December and then find out that their family can't afford it?
Right.
You know, you might think that you've spent all of these years preparing to get into the college of your dreams. You've culminated by getting that acceptance, and then your parents say, "We're sorry, we can't afford that."
Right.
So then everybody feels disappointed, and that is
Right.
completely avoidable.
Completely avoidable. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. With the right attention and research and approach at the right time.
that's right. That's right. I mean, so even if families didn't save for college and you don't have $500,000 sitting around, which most of us don't,
Right.
you know, there's so many amazing schools in this country that a lot of people overlook until they get
Yep.
to this point,
Yep.
that are wonderful schools that are also very generous with merit aid and
Yep.
can provide, you know, you and your student with a great experience that surprisingly you probably can afford.
Yep. So and so that approach that you're describing is very, very individualized, right? Your work with one student is very different from your work with another student and family because they may have a different situation financially, academically, otherwise.
Absolutely. My approach is student led. I'm not here to get your kid into an Ivy League. I'm
Yep.
not here to push whatever the parent agenda is. Um, this is going to be the student's journey and life journey. This is going to be their launching pad to adulthood.
Yeah.
So the school needs to fit the student,
Yeah.
but it needs to be something that the family can obviously afford.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So what's your favorite part of this fabulous work that we do?
Well, I love the idea of tailoring the search to the student. Everybody's different, so it's not a cookie cutter approach.
Yep.
And I think it's really fun to get to know a student and build a list that meets what they're looking for, especially if they're going to be schools that the student is not familiar with, and to open
Yep.
their eyes to all of these possibilities.
Yep.
And then, you know, to see them get into places. And now
Yep.
now they get to choose. Now they're in the driver's seat and they get to
Exactly.
decide where do they want to go. I think that's very exciting.
Yep, after you're totally right. After all of that, anticipation and fear and am I good enough and will I get in when the letters come back, suddenly you're right. The student is in control again.
Yeah. And then when they go visit and then they come back and they say, I really loved school A and school B.
Love
Now
that.
I have to decide.
Love that. Love that.
And
I
now
love it
they
when
can, yeah, and now they can imagine their future. They can now see
yes.
themselves on a college campus. So that's very
Yes.
exciting.
Yes. I had a student, she kept trying to take a school off her list, kept trying to, and I kept saying, just leave it there, just leave it there, just do me a favor. And it was only one essay, just write the essay. And she got in, and it was a good, really good school. She got in, but she never thought she would go. And her last three top choices were UCLA, Berkeley, and Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech was the one she was trying to take off the list. And so I was like, just do me a favor, just go visit, just go visit. And she did. And she called me when she got back, and she was like, oh my God, I found my people. She was like, I never ever would have applied if you hadn't pushed me to apply. So
That's great. And
it's
I
fun.
think what kids also might not realize, because they don't have the long view that we have, having been
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
planet for a while, you might meet your future spouse. You might
Right.
have an amazing internship that leads to your career. You might make
Mhm.
lifelong friends. You actually don't know what's going to happen when you end up at these places. And
Yeah.
I feel kind of excited that I might get to be this midwife to all of these opportunities that are going to
Love it.
happen.
Love it. So
So
true. Catalyst. I love it. I've totally come to see it that way. I met my best friend in college. And so I feel like my job is to help all of my clients find their Susan. That's it. That's my job. It's awesome. What a great job we have.
yeah,
Well, thank you. This has been really helpful. And I think people who are watching will have a good feel for how you will help them stay organized and stay on track and keep their eyes on the prize.
thank you.
Um,
I look forward to meeting you, future clients.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Yeah, my pleasure.